This is one of the big things that people are going to continue to see over the next month, and it just happened yesterday. This is in July 2023. I just want to go over this because it's such a big impact for everybody, not only people that are not in the real estate market, but people that are in the real estate market looking to purchase, and or people that have been in a scenario where they've been waiting for a while, or they've been trying to submit offers and those offers haven't got accepted. This is going to change a lot of things. And as a lot of people have probably seen already, the feds have increased the interest rates, which ultimately has the biggest and also highest increase in the last 22 years. So the last time that it was this high was in 2001. Which obviously in 2001, we had just come out of the dot-com burst and also kind of going into this huge uptick in real estate before we had this massive crash in 2008, 9, 10, 11. This is a big deal, but it's not going to be the biggest deal as people think that it's going to crash the real estate market. And I'll talk about why. However, we went from a target range now of 5.25% to 5.5%. And that came from the feds. And a couple of reasons why, as we read through this article, is one thing is inflation isn't going down as quickly. The CPI is running at 4.8% rate when excluding food and or energy. However, Cleveland Fed CPI tracked about 3.4% annually, and then 4.9% core rate in July. So it shows that obviously we are back down from 9.1% rate a year ago, which is great news. So we're going and trending down. They're still trying to get to that 2-ish%, what they keep talking about. Even every time that they meet, they speak about, hey, we want to decrease this down to 2%, which that's where inflation needs to be. So people probably are going to say, well, this is going to crash the housing market because rates are going to continue to go up and they're going to continue to increase, and that's ultimately going to put downward pressure on properties. However, I have one thing to really bring this all together and talk about, especially after they have this and release this information and had their press conference last night. Second quarter GDP growth is on track to have 2.4% annualized rate, according to Atlanta Fed, and many economists are still expecting a recession over the next 12 months. But you have a rise and a potential rise in the GDP, which is good news. Employment also is held at a remarkable low rate at 3.6%. So that is unemployment rate is 3.6% in June. So that's great news as well for the job market. But the job market, a lot of that is transitory jobs. So it's not all jobs that are in the tech sector or all, throughout the sector right now. If you look at a whole encompassed jobs report, there's a lot of people that are getting 1, 2, 3 gig jobs, so side jobs, to make up for, if let's say they have 150,000 that they're making, they get laid off, they have to get 1 to 2, maybe even 3 jobs, side jobs, driving for Uber, Lyft, and then some other things, Uber Eats, to make up that difference. And there's a lot of people that do make 6 figures doing that type of stuff, but this takes into account a lot of those jobs as well. And the other thing, as people go, well, is this going to crash the housing market? I bring up this Redfin chart. So this is back in May, so that it's kind of a 2-month back, and they would bring out the June numbers probably in the next week or two, because this is the end of July. But number of houses for sale drops the lowest level on record. So as you see it, so this is May, all right? So I'm looking at a chart, and I'll show it here. I'm looking at a chart from January 2012 all the way to May 2023. So as you look at it, you see that you have now in May 2023, 1,373,000. So basically almost 1,000,004 houses on the market. So if you go back to January of 2012, we had 2.75 million. So, and then if you go to September of 2019, you had 2.2 million. So roughly about 1 million more listings. And the reason that I believe, there's two reasons that I believe that the housing market won't crash or there won't be this huge significant drop in prices, is because this main reason is we still have a low level of inventory. This is 1.37 million that are still sitting there on the market across the United States. But if you look back to 2012, there was 2.75 million. So 2 times what it is now. And even if you reference point 2019, we had 1 million more active listings in the United States than we do now. So that gives us a lot of hope as you look across the United States and say, hey, am I going to keep my equity in my home? Am I going to keep the value that I bought in 21? And most likely you are, unless we have some crazy change in the job market or we have some crazy change in the economy where obviously a recession could take a huge impact on a lot of people's income. But a lot of people's income are already taking a huge impact on, just going to the store and trying to afford eggs, milk, and, toast and, bread and everything else. So, if you look at it too, new listings dropped 25.2% year over year, because I just pulled up another chart that we're down about 25 to 30% in active, not only inventory, but buyer and seller activity in California as a whole. So, and that was a National Association of Realtors article. So, given the lack of, given the crisis that we have a lack of inventory, U.S. in May fell 7.1% year over year to a seasonal adjusted 1.4 million homes on the market, which I talked about, lowest level on record, which dates back to 2012. Let's see, it was also the first year-over-year decline in listings since April 2022, okay? And then in 2.2 million homes back, like I talked about, back in 2019. So we had basically, meaning May in 2019, supply was below 38.6% pre-pandemic. So we have 38.6% lower amount of properties on the market. So even though you'll see rates tick up, you will also see a lot of buyer frenzy going after 1 or 2 properties or maybe 10 properties versus the 20 that are out there. And this is where people do need to take a look at one big aspect of overall the market and say, okay, well, this is an opportunity play for me. So where can I put my money into? I would look at properties that have been sitting on the market for a while. Like I said before, I would look at properties that have, been in and out of escrow, especially now, because you'll have people jump into escrow, realize what the closing disclosure shows is a different interest rate than what they were quoted, and they'll back out of escrow so you can jump in and negotiate the price. And then also, if people have reduced their sales price over the course of 30, 40 days, you can jump in on that and get a reduced sales price, because people are going to say, well, right now we're coming in August, kids are going to go back to school, so I'm going to take the chips off the table and wait till spring next year. So that's when you can jump in. That's when you can actually say, this is a buyer's advantage for me. And then 2, people taking their properties off the market, seller's advantage as well. Because if your property is right and it's priced right and the conditions right, you can get more of those buyers in the door and more offers on your property. So all this stuff you really need to go through, and I'll post here in the notes section where you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at for your reference point, but I'll also put it up here as I walk through everything and say, these are the times that people make their money. Is there's a lot of people that are going to be concerned, but the people that are concerned but also cautious and still proceeding forward are the ones that win the biggest. So that being said, if you guys can leave a comment about what you're seeing in your markets down below, and subscribe to the channel.